What is up, brothers and sisters of the stock trading community of America, India, wherever you all are? We got a lot of stuff to go over. A wild week in the stock market, and we need to dig in on what the heck is happening and what the next play is. So, first of all, decent sized bounce day on Friday on the QQQs. I wouldn't read too much into it just yet. We held at the 200-day moving average on the SPY, which is really good. We needed to hold here, I think, and we got it so far. And, same thing on the QQQs. We're kind of right there. The key is this. We don't want to be like, we don't want to get down over here and hold for like a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks down here. If that happens, the odds of like us kind of ripping back here into this zone is much smaller. I repeat, the odds of ripping back there is much smaller if you start doing that. So, like, and if you look here, right, the SPY was down 3%, Qs is down 3%. So it was a nasty little week. We did have a couple awesome bounces here, right here, right here, and right here. But this was not a linear thing, It was one day up, one day down, one day up, one day down, but the down days were nasty. And now we're really into a sweet spot where we've got to hold. If you're a bull, we got to hold this area here and start to start to work our way back up into this, right? Like, we need to start to work our way up and then maybe pull back and work our way up and do that. If we don't, we're in for a lot more trouble, guys. And so that's just that's going to be really key. But like, as we start to bounce, like, we've got a lot of resistance into this zone and to back and fill. And so I don't think it's just like, this easy linear thing. There's going to be some drama involved that we've got to prepare for. So I think we've got a shot here. We held on the QQQs, but man, I'm not sure, it's just going to be some linear thing where it's we just rip it back to highs. Guys, I would be very surprised if we just, did a V-shaped bounce back into the, this old resistance here. I just don't think that's in the cards with the way this, the way the slope of this has been. It feels a little bit different. Now, I say that every time the market does this, right? It's like, we have a recency bias. So we got to still let the price pay, right? As long as we're holding the 200-day moving average and the indexes, hey, we've got to give the benefit of doubt to this big, long, beautiful, right, bull market that we've had. If you look in August, right, we had a very similar, it was, we were at 515 and we pulled down about 430. Dude, that's, 80, 90 points right there. It was a steep, scary one too, all right? It was a steep, scary one too, and this very well could be that. But I beg you guys, don't be bag holding anything, right? Don't be bag holding anything. If you're taking a bath on stuff, don't get too crazy on the ego about this. I don't think this is just like one of those times you be a hero and you're like, dude, I bought the dip on NVIDIA and here I am, shredding all this money. I don't think that's that's this right now. If you look on a bigger term basis here, we've had really long kind of topping patterns on so many names for really a long period of time, right? This is a long topping pattern, and it's got some room to fall, if it wants to. So I don't think this is like August where, you just had in the context of these trends. Like, if you see here the way this looks, this pullback versus this is very different, right? Like, this was just in the context of the trend, it was like the kind of first big pullback. But this is a little bit different. Like, we've been, right, like kind of lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, as we slowly kind of take out all the MAs and they all are pointing down, down, down. Where, in the previous pullbacks, right, see, the 50-day moving average was still up, right? Like, in the 50-day moving average was still up. And so the structure was a little bit different. So just something to, be mindful of. Now, I think maybe for a day or two, I'm feeling like we could get a little bit of a bounce. But I want to be careful I want to be careful over, let's say, the next handful of days, because we need to see if it holds. So let's start digging into the watch list and see what the heck we got going on. So first of all, I think we got a couple things that we can do here, that we need to be aware of. There's some relative strength plays here, like this, lemonade. This got like a nice little doohickey that's starting to develop here. If it can take this out and the market confirms, that's the key. This is not a linear market where you just buy whatever looks hot. You have to have the market confirm it, and there's other things you probably need to confirm too before you start buying in. And I think this is a day trader's market only. If I'm a swing trader, I'm staying out of this because there's too much uncertainty. I like the overall look of this. I think that can work. YMM. So this is a Chinese name. You had a earnings breakout. See this day right here? This is actually, it broke out on earnings. They reported their first profit ever. I believe it was just like $100 million, but whatever. They're pushing, right? And so now you got kind of a couple days, just a little back and fill here into the EMAs. I think this could be something that develops over the next handful of days. TGTX, this is actually got a chance. Like, you have a flat top breakout. It's a biotech play. So when I say biotech plays will move regardless of what's happening in the general kind of tech index or S&P 500 index. Biotech stocks, biotechs don't make usually money, so it doesn't matter if they're making money or interest rates. Like, they kind of run on the one or two drugs that they have going on. It's got a spot here. Now, the big hairy Indian butt is that this is not a good market for breakouts, right? So I think for me personally to get involved, I need to see probably a market reversal too. I like the overall look, but it's just not the market for breakouts, right? I think, unless you're in Chinese names, right? Like BABA, this is, got some back and filling to do here, but, you're on your second test of resistance. So, you got one test, comes back, two tests, right? It's probably got to pull back, and then, I think you go. But so I want you to keep an eye on this, because if it starts to pull back down here, you may get a swing opportunity to kind of push this thing back into this if it holds up. So I like that overall look. BEKE, very, very similar. If you look here, this is kind of let's go to weekly chart here. And you got a spot here, 25. BEKE, a love-hate relationship with this stock over the years, but, BEKE, do you love me? Do you want me? Do you hold me? Right? If this thing opens weak into the bone zone here, I think we try to take this thing back upside and see what's going on. Billabong. Oh, Billabong. It's not really Billabong, but you got a breakout setting up here. If that rips, you got 32 in sight. And this used to be $140, right? So it's got a chance on this one. Look, a mean reversion play. If the market bounces, UPST has been officially not cut in half. It got almost $100, but you're down to 53. Let's see if we touch into the 200-day moving average. Affirm has similar look, right? Just that pullback into the 200-day moving average looks pretty good. Crowd, very similar, 459. Pull back in 200-day moving average. Now, look, this one had earnings the other day, so it got a little punished on that, but it probably would have got here regardless. But now you've retraced, about 25 to 30% of that move. Another relative strength play, old IBM. You got a breakout, second test, third test. Usually a good breakout, you want 3 tests of resistance. You want that 9 EMA curls for the girls coming up under the kitchen on it. Good look. Hey, AVGO had earnings on Friday. It actually held. It faded some of the gap, and then boom, back off to the races. That's a good thing. I thought that was pretty bullish. Semiconductors not been acting well. Let's see if it's a one-off thing or something more. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it reacts here at this 9 EMA, and if it kind of back and fills this. It's a start, right? It's a start. You're holding here. You're holding this 200-day moving average. Now prove me more. Kroger's got a nice breakout to it also. And then, look, you got Amazon on the 200-day moving average, too. I think any of those can hold. If we need some bear flags or bull flags, when I say bear flags, you want some breakdown setups. If Palantir loses this 80, and it may or may not, depends if it gets over the 9 or, right, if it breaks under this 80. But if it breaks under 80, I think that's probably something we could take down. Look, Bitcoin's going to open in the shitter probably tomorrow. You know, we got some room on MSTR to take this thing back to the 200-day moving average. So I think we can back and fill this. The coin too. I think these are all probably just like, you know, bear flags here. Coin's a turd anyways, but you know, you got yourself a little bit of consolidation right there. If it starts to take out this 200, I mean, it's going to speed up to the downside, and we can roll with it. Guys, and just, you know, moral of the story, you know, it's a risk-off environment, so you want to stay away from trying to dip by your, like, OCLOs and stuff like that. There was a time and place for them when they hit the 50, but they didn't hold, so now they're coming back. Look, these are, like, no-revenue companies that went up 1,000%. So they're going to pull back a lot more than you think. IONQ, right? These kind of names. So just be mindful. Risk off event means that a lot of these names go back to where they started. You know, will this go back to $5? Probably not. But, you know, don't be surprised to see it sub 20 and before. And then you'll need a series of PRs to pump it. And it may not even move on that. So you got to be a little bit careful. So be mindful, be nimble. I think it's a day trading environment only currently. You could do some other things, but, you know, I think you don't need to. So let me know if you guys need anything. I love you guys. Take care.